Hi everyone, and welcome to the Aries August 2021 Love Connection reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. So this is one of 3 connection readings I complete each month for each sign. We have the first, which focuses on self-connection, so awareness of your internal authentic self. The second is your spiritual connection reading, which focuses then on how you are engaging that unique internal authentic self with your external environment to kind of engage with spirit to be able to better understand your place and purpose. And then this one is your love connection reading, and we're going to take a look here at the general energies of love, and that involves romantic love. It also involves just love in general. And we're going to take a look at any possible blockages that might be coming up between you and just feeling in flow with the energies of love, or possibly pertaining to you and another person. This is more of a free-form reading as compared to my other readings. So whatever messages come through, I'm going to kind of just let them come through. And I hope they are helpful and illuminating. All right, Aries, so I'm going to start out with pulling a card here, which is going to kind of start off the reading. So I utilize the Triad of Engagement in all of my readings, which is a coaching tool I've developed that focuses on the 3 principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation. And we start off the readings, or I start off the readings, focusing on the principle of curiosity. So we're going to take a look at the energies of these cards, the messages behind them, and then we're going to build out a question. Because when you think about being curious, usually that involves asking a question. And so this is going to kind of set the tone for the reading. All right, so Aries, we have 2 cards that came out. We have self-love, and it says, now is the time to love, nurture, and heal yourself. Self-love is not simply a state of mind about feeling good. It's a state of appreciation for yourself that grows and matures from actions you take to support your body, mind, and soul. And then we have, you are not alone. And it says, we are here for you. We never left. Through all the sadness and loneliness, however, you cannot sense us near you or feel how much love we are sending you. We are your family, friends, and guides. You never walk alone. We walk right beside you. So these are your 2 cards here to kind of set the tone for this reading. We have self-love and you are not alone. I mean, beautiful message, Aries. I think what I'm feeling just intuitively is that maybe you guys have been going through a little bit of a rough patch and are now kind of coming out of that. Self-love is such an important concept. Especially when we feel like perhaps we have been so focused for so long on trying to love others. And this happens when we think about the general, sorry guys, I'm gonna just readjust myself there. When we think about the general energy of love, love is a 2-way street. It's a give and flow, a give and take. There are times when we should be able to give that supportive, energetic grace of love, and there's the times when we should be able to receive that from others. But very often, and for most of us at any given time, there's an imbalance there where we are either giving too much and feel that we're not receiving, or we're actually receiving more than what we're actually giving back. And there's this quality here of where I feel like, especially with the you're not alone combined with the self-love, that there's been a little bit of this feeling perhaps that you've been kind of on the outside of the inward flow of love, that perhaps you feel like you've been putting a lot out there and haven't really been bringing that back into yourself. And the beauty with being able to work with the energies of love is that we don't have to wait for our external environment to give us love. We don't have to wait for the other person in our life to give us love. We can actually start from within, from our connection to spirit, from our unique connection to ourself, to our soul. And we can start there And the more that we learn that love can start basically being able to receive the beneficial qualities of love, the supportive qualities of love, that when we start with loving ourselves, it's very easy then to be able to kind of have a wellspring of love to then be able to put that out and also then bring that back into you from your external environment. Now, to build in a question, because again, this is kind of where we're being curious, this is where we're opening ourselves up to just the general themes of love in our own individual lives. I would ask yourself where perhaps you have recently felt alone and isolated from the energy of love, where you have felt that you have not received that support, whether it's from a significant other in your life, whether it's just in general. I mean, this could be something where you've maybe felt that you've been kind of walking alone for a long time. Now, love doesn't always have to mean romantic love. It doesn't have to always be tied to, let's say, a family member. This can actually be also where perhaps you just don't feel that you're getting that, again, support. Because at the base of love, it really is this element of unconditional support and acceptance. And we forget that at times. We forget that love really should involve that acceptance of others as they are, as much as we should be able to receive that support and acceptance of ourselves from others. And so there is kind of this quality here of perhaps it's been quite some time where you've actually been able to be accepted as you are, who you are, and appreciated for that. And that can take place in the workplace. I mean, we can have an imbalance of love coming from actually our work environment. This can simply be just in general, that you just feel that you are on your own and generally not accepted. And I think really when we're asking ourselves these kind of tough questions is to ask, where do we feel that you specifically as unique, singular, authentic being is not being recognized and loved for who you are, for what you know you're capable of, and for just the genuine person that you are. And where can you start to give that back to yourself? Where can you be able to tap into that appreciation for who you are, for what you're capable of, and for how much you've given to others? Because that's really where we start to turn the tables with love. It's when we can direct it back to ourselves and again kind of fill our own cup first. And that makes it easier for us then to be able to love others. But that supportive element of being able to accept others for who they are starts with self-acceptance. So it's very difficult for us to look at others and love and appreciate who they are as a unique individual and not want to change them and simply just want to support them for who they are when we don't feel that we're getting the same in return. And so that really has to start with us. It has to start with that element of self-love. And then once you get to that point, it's very easy then to see others who are struggling with the same and be able to then kind of open up that flow back and forth of being able to understand, okay, if I had an issue with loving myself, most likely most people do. So now I can help provide them with that same support to really see who they are and really be able to support them. Okay, so that's just kind of the starting energies here. Now I'm going to pull some tarot cards, and this is going to be kind of more of the free form. This is going to be just basically, I'm going to pull cards and see what messages come out. Now this can pertain to perhaps a blockage that you're having, again, maybe in an area where, again, you are not receiving or giving love. It can also be pertaining to a specific person. So we'll see what comes out first here. So we have the Hermit and the Page of Swords. Interesting. So these two cards, the Hermit really focuses on the energy of going within. It can be an isolating energy. It can be when we think of a hermit, we think generally of somebody who's isolated themselves from the world. But this card specifically in the tarot really focuses on isolating yourself to go within to find that inner light. And then to be able to bring out that inner light to illuminate your path forward. And when we think about kind of explaining this, you know, in kind of simplistic terms, this would be like going within to realize what you're capable of, what you love to do, what your hopes and dreams are, and then being able to, through that illumination, be able to say, oh, I can see where this specific ability that's unique to myself and this hope and this dream and this need that I have around that fits in because I'm being guided by that now. My awareness has been brought to that part of myself. And so that's kind of the concept around the Hermit. Now, to bring this into the Page of Swords, the Page of Swords is a card that can denote a little bit of almost like beginner's mindset, childlike energy of working with your personal truth, of trying to go out into the world and share your personal truth in a way where you're trying to almost gain context to understand the better fit. This is also a card of kind of fact finding. It can be a card actually also of the spy, like you spying on somebody or somebody spying on you to gain more information. So with these two cards coming in together and thinking about the energy of love, I feel like there's this quality here of you guys, and I'm just trying to like kind of hear the message that's coming through, that you've kind of gone within. And I have this feeling that for some of you, while you've been trying to go within and you know, and similar to the other card that we have here that just fell down, I'm going to actually lean over and get it. Fell off the table. Kind of similar to what we started out with here with this energy of self-love. It's almost like you guys have been kind of on this journey of going within and so focused on who am I? What do I bring to the table? What can, you know, kind of on this inward journey that while that's been happening, somebody's been keeping track of you. Somebody keeping tabs. So I'm going to get some more, I'm going to get some clarifier cards here. So I'm going to go ahead, actually I'm going to get some of these clarifier cards here. So I'm going to do a little bit more, actually I want to see, I'm going to pull one more card from this deck actually, just see if I can get any more messages around the Hermit and the Page of Swords. So when I look at this, it's interesting because it's almost like the Hermit looks like he's holding his lantern while the Page of Swords here is looking away. Like, I don't want to see the light. There's this quality here that I feel like there's been somebody out here who's been trying to so this is what's coming through as far as, again, possibly you with another person. And again, this message can be reversed. So what I'm saying might be you with another person or the energies are reversed. That there's one person here who has done a lot of soul seeking, soul searching, and they're trying to hold this lantern up for this other individual who's a little bit more in a, not, I wouldn't say naive, but in a more childlike kind of mindset, again, of trying to figure out where they fit, gaining context on their own personal truth, and they're not quite wanting to see by the light of what this person has spent a lot of time trying to discover about themselves. And this can be kind of a frustrating energy right here. This can be where, you know, one person kind of sees themselves as a little bit more self-aware, and one person is a little bit more like, I just want to go out and play with my sword, so to speak. So I'm feeling some frustration. Okay, I'm going to see if I can pull one more card from this illuminated deck here to see if there's any other messages, main messages that want to come out, and then I'll clarify these cards. Okay, we got two more cards that came out. So we have the King of Swords and we have the Two of Pentacles. And right off the bat, there's this element here that comes through that is really this is a card that can actually bring in the energies of Aquarius. But there's also this energy here of juggling. So the Two of Pentacles is a card that denotes kind of getting lost in the day-to-day tasks, and that perhaps maybe there's a decision that needs to be made between which one of these pentacles should be focused on more. But it is a card kind of distraction. And so there's this element of somebody kind of, so in the King of Swords here, if you can see, the King of Swords is a card that really brings in the energy of somebody who can state the truth very clearly. Somebody who's really learned to work with their truth. So if you think about the Page of Swords versus the King of Swords, this person is far more adept at being able to understand their personal truth, be able to wield the truth. This is somebody who you might go to for advice with the understanding that they are going to ask for all of the information and then be able to come out with a very truthful and well-researched answer. And so there's this element here of almost discovering, and it's strange because I'm hearing somebody doesn't want to hear the truth. And there's something here about I feel like between you and another individual, there's one person here that's doing all the work, that's trying to come from this place of, I know my truth, I'm trying to wield my truth, and I'm trying to speak the truth about this energy. That there's something here about kind of being distracted. So I'm going to clarify. So it's almost like there's two sets here. So we have somebody who's done a little bit of soul searching, who's trying to shed the light, basically trying to shine the light for somebody who's not willing to see. And then we have somebody over here, could be the same energy, who's trying to speak the truth about perhaps somebody who's unfocused, or somebody who is really taking on a little too much and they feel like they're juggling. And that behind this, there's, again, the truth coming through, this element of wanting to come almost from this like father-like voice of reason to say, there's too much going on. I can't do everything while you are off discovering yourself. It's a little bit of what's coming through here. So let me get some clarifier cards. So I'm going to clarify the Hermit. Let's see the energy around the Hermit. What does Aries need to know about the Hermit? Let's see if we can even get anything that comes out. All of a sudden, the Hermit's very quiet. The Hermit seems to be like they've been the ones kind of, again, possibly going off. Now, this could be you, Aries. This could also be the reverse against somebody else in your life. So when you think about this, this can be, here we go. Okay, the Hermit. So we have the Queen of Wands, we have Justice, and we have the Hanged Man. So when I'm looking at this right here, there's a quality of seeing something in a new light. And that's what the Hanged Man really speaks to. And there's this element here of Justice, which is a card that represents balance. It's a card that represents harmony. It's also a card that can represent contracts. like a marriage contract or a work contract. And then there's the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands is all about living and acting from a place of passion and really understanding kind of what lights your fire and tapping into that magic, that self magic of wanting to take action in a very powerful way. And I think really with the Hermit, this is focusing on the energy of whoever is in this energy here, of this kind of soul-seeking inner guidance. They've done the inner work. They're trying to help shine the light for somebody else. There's this element now of seeing something in a different light, basically seeing a contracted agreement or the imbalance. I get this feeling that this is you, Aries. If this actually harnesses your energy here. That I get this feeling, are finally realizing just what you're capable of. That you're understanding, wow, I really have the power to create. I have the power I've kind of found my internal flame. And I know what I'm capable of, and I want to take action from a place of passion, but I'm feeling a little tied. I'm seeing now the imbalance that I perhaps am not getting in this relationship to this person. That there's this quality here of being kind of contractually tied to, or perhaps again just the imbalance between these two people. That one is a little bit more, I'm not on board. This could even be business partnership, where one person's like, hey, I'm really on board, and this person's like, I'm just gonna go off and keep going to, I don't know, maybe let's try this idea or that idea or this idea. And this person's like, no, this is what, the business is about. It's like this, like, let me try to show you the way. Of course, if this isn't a romantic relationship, this is definitely that quality of one person kind of just not wanting to, I think, honor and really see the work that this other person's done, kind of tying back to this self-love of not really valuing just how much work this person has done, how much work, and possibly, I'm just going to take this as you, Aries, that how much wisdom you have and how much you're also trying to really help them be able to step into the same energy. And in turn, what's happening now is that's causing the Hermit, you, to really see in a new light the imbalance that has occurred. That basically you want to tap back into your magic. You want to tap back into being able to act from a place of passion, because you've found your own internal light again. You've tapped back into that. But now you're kind of contractually, it's almost like you feel like you have to be there for this person, and this person is not paying attention to you. And so there's an element here of kind of seeing the imbalance, or feeling the need to, that you're contracted to stay with this person. Okay, I'm going to pull some clarifier cards for the Page of Swords. A chunk came out here. So we have Four of Swords, we have Temperance, we have the Ace of Wands, and we have the Page of Cups. So for the Page of Swords, what I'm seeing here is there's this element of, let me just take this in, it's very, very interesting. I think there's a little bit of this. So the Four of Swords there's a pause that's come through where it's almost like this person had to take this moment to kind of sit and rest. It's a contemplative moment where we get a chance to kind of sit with our personal truth, see our own wounds and kind of heal those negative stories from the past, heal our hearts, and be able to move forward kind of with a fresh version of our truth. But there's this element, so we have Temperance coming through, and Temperance is a card that denotes, again, temperance. So there's this element of balancing something out, of also being able to take different aspects of self and bring them together to be able to temper them into something possibly different. And there's this quality that's coming through now. Normally I don't always see this like this, but there's this quality coming through of, for this Page of Swords, that they are focusing on their own flame, their own internal flame. The Ace of Wands is that spark, our divine spark, tied to spirit. This is kind of like our personal magic wand. This is what we are each given that is sparked from a place of eternal passion. This is where our unique internal hopes and dreams and needs and abilities all come from. And it can also be the inception of an idea. It can also be the inception of a child. This can actually represent pregnancy, conception. And when I'm seeing this here paired with the Page of Cups, now the Page of Cups can be something where it's almost like, I don't always see it like this. Page of Cups can actually be where we're discovering, kind of similar to the Page of Swords, and kind of this almost like childlike beginner's mindset energy of where we're starting to work with our emotional connection to life, where we're starting to realize like what kind of fills our cup on an emotional level, and wanting to go out and share it like openly with others. And there's this element here of almost, what I'm getting is this immaturity around either, and again, this is going to be very, very specific to some of you. There's this immaturity or almost a kind of fantasy element to this, of maybe giving, like seeing something not quite for what it truly is. So there's this element here of, you know, wanting to work with this new passion, this new idea, this new possibly even conception. This could be, you know, pregnancy. This could be the idea for a business, this, you know, whatever it is. But there's this element kind of not being realistic and not offering enough, that there hasn't been enough. I think what's coming through here is that this person really needs to sit and is being asked to temper kind of this element of themselves, this little bit of this fantasy around chasing their dreams, so to speak, and healing, and actually taking some contemplative time to heal some wounds, to be able to better understand their truth, to better understand and see the hurt that they've been through, or possibly the hurt that they've caused others, and then be able to temper that all together, to be able to work with this passion, but not from a place that kind of involves a little bit of illusion or a little bit of immaturity. So that's what's coming through here, that basically we have two very different energies. We have one very mature energy and one kind of more childlike energy. And again, the mature energy, so take it for what resonates, whether this is you or the other person. One person is really seeing in a different light how they're contracted, or the balance between themselves and this other person. And the other person, the Page of Swords, again, be this you or the other person, they are in this place of needing to really reflect on what they're trying to chase down here, because they're not quite taking seriously something on this side. They're not working with their passion in a mature way. They're not working with, again, and this usually, involves kind of a new spark. This is a rekindling of that kind of eternal flame or passion, or this, again, could be the brand new inception of an idea, or the conception of a child. That there's this element a little bit around, again, not handling this in an emotionally mature way. Okay, now I'm going to take some clarifier cards for the King of Swords, and then we'll see what you're juggling here with the Two of Pentacles. So let's clarify the King of Swords. King of Swords. Any additional information for the King of Swords? Any additional information for the King of Swords? King of Swords is very quiet. Moon, okay. Anything for the Two of Pentacles? Oh, wow, that's a lot, but let's just see what comes through. Okay, so for the Knight of Swords, we have the Moon. Now, the Moon can be a card that indicates a lack of clarity. Kind of, can you walk this path on faith? But there's this element of having to kind of go in and have faith and trust from a place of intuition because of the lack of clarity. But what I'm getting here is that this King of Swords is communicating that lack of clarity. There's this element of truth coming through, saying, hey, there's an issue here. There's an issue with how we're all moving forward here. Now for the Two of Pentacles, quite a few cards came out, so I'm going to go over all of these here. So we have the Lovers, we have the Hermit again, we have the Page of Pentacles, we have the Hierophant, and we have the Ace of Swords. So what I'm seeing right off the bat here is that there's this element of gaining clarity over okay, so this might be a little, I don't want this to be a Debbie Downer for you guys, Aries, but there is a little bit here. Now it's either depending on, again, this can be in a romantic relationship, a committed partnership, or this can also be tied to perhaps your work environment, or even in a familial environment between parents, or maybe you're a parent and this is a child. So we have the Lovers and the Hermit. So there's this quality here of going in and kind of deliberating on, something that you've loved, whether this is a relationship, whether this is making a decision to move on something that you've loved. This is really harnessing that energy of making choices and taking actions, making a decision from a place of what you love, and going within to really better understand this energy here. And then we move into the Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles can actually be a piece of information that we receive, but this can also be about us also going out and gaining more information. This can be where we maybe we do a little bit more research. This could be taking a course, a certification course. This could be going back to school. This could be where we're just starting to get our hands dirty, working with something that we're, brand new to. And then we have the Hierophant. So there's this element here. The Hierophant can denote so the Hierophant kind of focuses on the energy of the structures that are in place, both in our society, our family, but also the structures that we create for ourselves as well. And this can actually represent marriage, because marriage is a tenant that we, live with. It's a structure. This can be something along the lines of, again, what we choose to follow. So this could, if this is a family environment, there's a quality here about maybe your family has always done something a very specific way. And now there's some clarity about this. Now I'm going to just take this in that this is coming through very much, this reading is coming through very much, and not just a general energy of love. This is coming through specifically with you and somebody else. So take it for how it resonates, whether this is you and a significant other, you and a familial environment, so maybe you and a parent, or you and another family member, or you in a work partnership. So this could be a boss-employee dynamic here, or it could even be two business partners. But there's this quality here of having had made a decision from a place of passion and love and emotional tie to basically make some type of commitment that then involved a little bit of soul searching after the fact. That prompted a little bit of this kind of journey of the soul, prompted the Hermit. So same card here. Prompted the Hermit to kind of reevaluate this relationship, this decision made from a place of passion. And they decided to kind of, I get this feeling that there's this element of realizing the reality of what you've kind of tied yourself to. Again, there's this element of clarity, similar to kind of what's coming through with the Hanged Man card here, of being able to see truth and gain clarity on something, a structure or a commitment that you, after trying to follow it, it's almost like, okay, you made this decision, made this commitment, did a little bit of soul searching, kind of discovered a little bit about yourself. You tried to go out and work with this, and you're realizing now, I think I'm seeing this in a different light. I think I'm realizing kind of what's a little bit chaotic right now. What's a little bit of, having to juggle these two pentacles, but there's this element of kind of getting lost in just the daily tasks, lost in just, it's almost like having that aha moment of, oh shoot, I've told myself I've had to do this. I've told maybe now this could be coming from you, or it could be coming from yourself, that this could look like getting married to somebody, and you feel like that was like what you had to do. You had to get married and make it work, but you feel like you've just been juggling something. Instead, it's felt like it's just been this like, I just can't get I can't get my feet on the ground to get to a place where I feel like this is working for me. And maybe you were just doing things, like you just chaos, not chaos, but you're just doing the tasks. And finally now you're actually expressing from a place of truth this lack of clarity that you've been sitting with for some time as to why this decision just wasn't aligning with you. And now you're starting to admit the truth to yourself of, I've been doing all this work. I've been the one juggling. I've been the one trying to make this work for me. And after kind of getting my feet wet with it, it's maybe not what I expected. It's maybe not what's actually in my best interest, not what's going to free me to follow my own passions. So I think there's this element here of really having to have kind of been lost for a while of again, not having that clarity, kind of having to like walk this path on faith of trying to keep going, trying to gain your bearings, so to speak. And now you're finally seeing and speaking the truth of this, speaking the truth of, you know, what you weren't able to see, what was kind of maybe even being a distraction or an illusion, and realizing now the truth, the clarity that's coming forward on what you've been kind of working towards and what is really behind this. And that maybe this tie is not something you want to continue to be tied to. I mean, now, so if this is a marriage, this is kind of gaining clarity on your marriage, gaining clarity on just how much you are doing, how much you are juggling. If this is a work interaction, this is realizing, you know, the commitment that you've made and maybe feeling like you have to stay with it and realizing, wow, I've been the one doing so much. I've been the one having to juggle all these tasks. And I've been trying to do that to keep myself from actually having this personal clarity here. And at one point I thought I loved it. But when I actually let myself have that time to kind of soul search, I'm realizing that this is actually holding me back from being my most powerful self here, from being able to act from my own passion. So kind of going back, and again, oh my gosh, it's so strange. This keeps falling off the table. It's like trying to get your energy, it's trying to like get your attention almost. So again, kind of going back to the self-love, this is about reconnecting with you, and perhaps it's about kind of coming into clarity about this energy that you've been trying to kind of pin down. You've been trying to, I feel like you guys have been doing this inner work, that you've really been doing the inner work, and then trying to say, okay, if I can do the inner work and start the change within myself, then I can help illuminate the way forward with this person. And in reality, the truth that's coming out is that there's just been juggling, that there's been kind of this distraction that's prevented you from really being able to hone in and see the immaturity in the other person that you're connecting with. That is just become a distraction from you being able to be this heightened version of yourself, to follow your own passions. Okay, Aries, I'm going to pull a last card here, kind of for contemplation. So this is something to kind of, whether it's advice or some additional message to come through. Contemplation helps us be able to have kind of something to meditate on, something to help connect the dots between what we're currently experiencing in our external environment with what we're currently experiencing in our internal environment. So we get a chance to kind of look at the consequences of our actions and also the consequences of the actions of those around us. Very interesting. So we have soulmates. It's number 41, breaking down to number 5. And we have time for a nap. Number 24, breaking down to number 6. Soulmates and time for a nap. I get this feeling here. Now, soulmates doesn't necessarily mean, when I think of a soulmate, and when I talk about a soulmate, that doesn't necessarily mean a romantic soulmate. That could mean that this is somebody coming into your life who is meant to teach you something. But I feel almost, as I'm seeing this, that there's this quality here of getting caught up in feeling like you're tied to this person. And again, this can happen in the work world. This can very easily be where you've maybe worked someplace with somebody for such a long period of time that you feel almost like you have this like soulmate kind of destined contractual agreement with somebody. But what I'm getting here with time for a nap is that there's this element here, you have to let it go. It's time to kind of release this need here of, it's almost like a need of what I'm seeing kind of almost represented it here with these first two cards. There's this element here of needing to come back to the love from within yourself and realize you don't need to have that from somebody else. That the recognition of your own specialness and authenticity and singularity needs to come from you and not from trying to make another see that in you. Now, maybe for some of you, you have been so focused on trying to find a soulmate. I mean, this could be that maybe you've been trying to make a marriage or a committed relationship work because you feel like this, that's something you've believed in. You felt like this is the person, this is the person for you. And you're realizing now, as you're shining kind of your light out there, that, whoa, maybe not so much. And it's time to kind of give this idea or fantasy a rest. And that can also be, again, in the work world, that maybe this is time to realize, maybe you thought this was the business partner of your dreams, or you've worked so long with this manager that you almost feel like you've helped build this business, or you feel like you might actually let this other person down if you choose to walk away. But in reality, it's what I'm hearing from this card. It's time to give it a rest. We will have many soulmates in our life, and maybe there's this quality of having to, again, before you can go back to maybe, let's say, repair a committed relationship, maybe you are in a marriage, that maybe it's about you going back first to appreciate yourself, to really understand all of this time you've given to yourself, all of this time that you've gone to do the soul searching. Well, it's time for you to honor that in yourself, so that then you maybe can come back to honor that in another. But you have to be able to love yourself first and realize that it's not about trying to give to another who's not willing to receive and who doesn't have perhaps the capability. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here, that this is the person who doesn't have the emotional capability to be able to give you that. They're a little bit on this, like, it's almost like you're up here and they're a little bit down here. There's a little bit of a maturity gap. And this person is so focused on working from this place of passion, but from a lack of emotional maturity. And there could be this quality here where you either let them find, like, you stop harping on them. Maybe there's an element here where you're trying to speak the truth and you're trying to let them know about what they're doing wrong, or where they need to, direct their energy better, or whatever it is. And it's time to give it a rest, to either let the other person be who they are and just appreciate that in them, and understand that it might take them a while to get up to where you are. I kind of feel like this is almost like an element of like somebody not being on your level, and you're just not okay with it, and you've been trying to tell them that. You've been trying to tell them the truth of where they've been wasting their energy and where you've been wasting your energy, but they're just not in a place to see it. So this is kind of where, when we're thinking about the energy of love, this is about you accepting yourself, and you accepting, just as much as you learn to love yourself, learning to love that everybody's in their own phase and own process of their development, and realizing that sometimes we just have to give it a rest. Whether this means truly walking away because you can't change the other person, and you realize now you've gained that clarity and you realize, wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And that's fine. Instead of trying to change the other person It's about respecting where they are and maybe making that hard choice to walk away from a workplace or a business partnership, or choosing to maybe walk away from a committed partnership. It doesn't mean that you have to love them less. It's just that you realize you guys are in two very different places and it's just not working for you. What you're getting in return doesn't feel like it's enough for what you're putting out. And again, this is about balancing that element of love, balancing the flow of love. This could also be just giving it a rest and stop harping on your partner and let them kind of get to where they're going to be. If you're going to choose to stay with them, this is more about continuing that internal work, about realizing, I think, where you can better spend your time instead of maybe trying to juggle around the chaos that they're creating, and really just focus back on love of self and getting back into your place of passion while you allow them, the other person, to mature a little, to go out, test themselves and to go out and maybe work with their passion. And they might mess up. And they might have to learn how to balance themselves out a little bit. But that's for them to do, not for you to teach them. So that's kind of something we have to realize, is that not oftentimes, but there are some relationships that we get into that are soulmate-based relationships are meant to teach us. They're learning relationships. So where we get to, where one person kind of helps teach the other. And then there are relationships that are equal, where each person comes to the table with, kind of on an equal footing. And I feel like whatever this relationship is focusing on for you, this was a learning lesson. This was a teaching relationship. This was meant to be where I think both of you were meant to learn something from each other. But specifically, there's one person here who's a little bit more elevated, who's learned that lesson. And maybe this is you trying to now, feeling like you have to teach the other person. And in reality, this was the lesson for you to learn. The lesson for you to learn to either let others just simply be who they are, and you can't help somebody else who is on their own path of spiritual and emotional maturity. You can't force that. That's a path we're all individually on. But you can take away that lesson from this interaction and then make the choice to bring it back to courage, make the courageous decision to either walk away from this relationship because it's not fair for you to constantly be harping on somebody else and not love them for who they are, or it's also depleting you. So the lesson can be, I gave and gave and gave and got nothing in return, and I don't want to go through that anymore. So the next time I get into this kind of relationship, be it work or interpersonal, family, or with a significant other, I'm going to look for somebody who's a little bit more on my level. So I hope, Aries, this has been, I know it's kind of been a roundabout message to get here, but I do feel like this is, you guys are going through this realization, the self-realization of just not, I feel like it's your energy, it's the elevated energy, and it's the other person's energy, it's the lower energy. And this is where you have to really kind of dig deep to say, do I stay? And am I strong enough to just kind of let them be who they are and evolve and mature at their own rate? Or is this detrimental to me to where I need to learn my lesson, that I have to walk away and realize I can't control another, but also in the next time I decide to get into a new workplace or a new work dynamic or a new significant other dynamic or a familial dynamic, I need to make sure that I'm on equal footing with that person. And of course, bring it back to self-love. Honor who you are. All right, Aries, I hope this has been an illuminating reading. I hope you get a chance to check out your other 2 readings for the month of August, and I look forward to your reading in September. If you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one coaching session, those links to my website are in the description box below. Bye.